Weddings are supposed to be the happiest days of our lives. But sometimes behind the smiles, laughter, and music hide the darkest secrets. My name is Alina, and last month I attended my brother's wedding. A wedding that would change my life forever. It started beautifully. Fairy lights wrapped around the trees, music echoing through the garden, laughter filling the air. My brother Rayan stood under the mandap, beaming with happiness, waiting for his bride, Sarah, to walk down the aisle. Sarah was beautiful. She had this glow that could make the entire room stop and look. I had always admired her. She was kind, confident, and someone I considered a sister long before she officially became one. My husband, Zain, was standing beside me, looking sharp in his suit. He held my hand and whispered, "One day, we'll renew our vows like this too." I smiled. At that moment, I truly believed everything in my world was perfect. But little did I know that the same hands holding mine were the same hands touching my brother's bride behind closed doors. The wedding went on beautifully. The guests cheered, the vows were spoken, and the couple shared their first dance. But something strange caught my attention. Every time Sarah laughed, Zain's eyes flickered toward her, not the way a brother-in-law should look, but with something hidden. It felt wrong. I brushed it off. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe I was overthinking. But deep inside, something whispered. Watch closely. Later that night, while everyone danced and celebrated, I couldn't find Zain anywhere. I searched the garden, the bar, the hallway. Nothing. Then I saw it. The door to the bride's dressing room slightly open. Soft laughter echoed from inside. My heart began to pound. I told myself, it can't be him, it can't be Sarah. But curiosity and fear led me to the door. When I pushed it open just a little, what I saw shattered everything I believed in. Zain was there, so was Sarah. He was standing behind her, whispering something into her ear, his hand brushing her arm. And the look on her face wasn't shock. It was guilt. I froze. My hands trembled. Tears filled my eyes before I even understood what I was seeing. Then I heard Zain's voice, low, hushed, full of betrayal. "After tonight, everything will change. You'll be mine completely." Sarah whispered back, "Please, not here. Someone might see." That was enough. The world around me blurred. The laughter from the wedding outside turned into noise I couldn't bear to hear. I turned and ran, heart pounding, soul shaking. I locked myself in the restroom, tears streaming down my face. I wanted to scream, to confront them, to destroy everything right then and there. But something inside me stopped. Not fear, not weakness. It was clarity. If I exploded now, I'd destroy my brother's wedding. If I stayed quiet, I could uncover everything. Every secret, every lie. So I wiped my tears, fixed my makeup, and walked out, as if nothing happened. When I rejoined the guests, I smiled for the cameras, danced with my brother, and congratulated Sarah. Zayn even kissed my forehead in front of everyone. My blood turned to ice, but I made a silent promise to myself that night. You both think I'm blind. But from this moment on, I'll be watching every move you make. As the wedding ended and the guests left, my brother hugged me and said, "Thank you for being here, Alina. You're my rock." And I looked at him, my heart breaking, knowing I held a secret that could destroy his world. But I didn't know yet that my brother already had his own suspicions, and what he planned to do once he found out would shock everyone. The morning after the wedding, the sun rose beautifully over the garden. But for me, it felt like darkness was still sitting in my chest. Everything looked perfect on the outside, but inside, I was breaking. Zayn was cheerful, humming as he packed our bags. He looked at me and said, "Last night was magical, wasn't it?" I forced a smile. "Yes," I said quietly, but my eyes were searching his face for guilt, or even a flicker of remorse. Nothing. He looked calm, confident, almost too normal. As we drove back home, my mind replayed what I saw. Sarah's voice. Zayn's touch, their whispers. Every time Zayn reached for my hand, I felt sick. I wanted to scream, "I saw you! I know everything!" But I didn't. Not yet, because I needed to know how long this had been going on. Over the next few days, I watched him closely. He started coming home late, claiming work meetings. He smiled at his phone more often, hiding the screen when I walked by. My brother, Rayan, and Sarah were still on their honeymoon. I didn't want to believe she was capable of betrayal, but my gut said otherwise. So one evening when Zayn left his phone on the table to take a shower, I picked it up. My hands were shaking as I opened his messages. There it was, a chat named S. The last message read, "Don't worry, he'll never know. I'll tell him when the time is right." My heart stopped. I scrolled up. Photos, secret meetups, deleted messages recovered through screenshots, and one video, a short clip from the wedding night, of Zayn and Sarah together in a room full of laughter and wine. I couldn't breathe. The betrayal burned deeper than I could bear. I wanted to run to Rayan immediately, but something told me to wait, because Rayan wasn't as clueless as I thought. That same night, I got a call from him. His voice was calm, too calm. "Hey, Alina, how are you?" "I'm fine," I lied. "How's the honeymoon?" "Good," he replied. "But I need to talk to you when I get back." About Zayn, my heart skipped. I asked, "What about him?" He hesitated. "I'll tell you in person. Just promise me, don't trust anyone until I do." The call ended, and I sat there frozen, realizing my brother knew something. The following week, they returned from their honeymoon early. Sarah looked radiant, pretending to be the perfect wife. Rayan seemed quiet, observing everything. When our families gathered for dinner, I noticed Rayan watching Zayn like a hawk. Sarah laughed loudly, pretending to be innocent, but her hands trembled when she lifted her glass. After dinner, Rayan called me to his study. He closed the door and said, "Alina, tell me the truth. Have you noticed anything strange between Sarah and Zayn?" I froze. He stared at me, his jaw tight, his eyes red. For a moment I thought of lying, to protect him from pain. But the truth was too heavy. "Yes," I whispered. "I saw them together. At your wedding." He didn't speak. He just stood there, silent, unmoving, for almost a full minute. Then he exhaled slowly and said, "I knew it." Rayan opened his drawer and pulled out a small flash drive. He plugged it into his laptop and turned the screen toward me. On the screen were photos, Zayn and Sarah meeting secretly weeks before the wedding. Hotel bookings messages, even a voice recording. My brother had already been investigating. "I hired a private investigator," he said. I had doubts for months, but I didn't want to believe it until I had proof. I covered my mouth, shocked. Rayan continued, "I wanted to confront her before the wedding. But then I saw how happy Mom was, how excited everyone was. So I waited." His voice cracked as he whispered, "Now I'll make sure they regret ever crossing." That was the moment I realized. My brother wasn't broken. He was planning something big. He looked me in the eyes and said, "I don't want you to say a word, Alina. Not yet. Let them believe they're safe." Then he smiled, a slow, cold smile I'd never seen before. "They took my love and made a fool out of me. Now I'll take their piece by piece." I didn't know what he meant at that moment, but in the days that followed, I would witness a kind of revenge so quiet, so calculated, it would make even guilt feel like mercy. Sometimes silence is louder than anger. Sometimes revenge doesn't come in screams. It comes in whispers. And as I left his study that night, I realized the game had begun. From that night on, everything changed. My brother Rayan, once kind, patient, and gentle, had gone silent. But behind that silence was fire. He acted normal. He smiled at family dinners. He called Sarah my love in front of everyone. But I could see it in his eyes. He was watching. Every word, every move, every lie. And Zayn? He was getting bolder. He'd begun texting Sarah even in front of me, using fake contact names like work partner and office file. But I knew what those messages meant. One evening, Rayan invited a few close friends over. The house was glowing with laughter and music, but underneath it all was a strange tension, like a storm waiting to break. Sarah looked uneasy. She smiled too much, laughed too loudly. Zayn avoided eye contact with me all night, pretending to be absorbed in his phone. And then, Rayan stood up and tapped his glass. "Everyone," he said, smiling, "I have a little surprise for my wife tonight." Sarah froze. Zayn shifted uncomfortably. "It's been a month since our wedding," Rayan continued, "and I thought it was time to relive that beautiful day together." The lights dimmed slightly. A projector turned on. The screen lit up with wedding photos. The ceremony, the guests, the smiles. Everyone clapped. Sarah forced a grin. But then the slideshow changed. The next picture wasn't from the wedding. It was from after. Sarah and Zayn, Together, in a private hotel room. Laughing, drinking, the same night as the wedding. The room went silent. The laughter died instantly. Zayn's face turned pale. Sarah's glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the floor. And Rayan? Rayan just stood there, calm, unmoving, as if he had rehearsed that silence 100 times. "Happy anniversary," he said coldly. Everyone was frozen. Sarah fell to her knees. "Rayan, please, it's not what it looks like." But Rayan interrupted. "Oh, it's exactly what it looks like. I made sure the camera had the best angle." He turned to Zayn. "You married my sister, and then you slept with my wife. Tell me, Zayn, how do you look yourself in the mirror every morning?" Zayn tried to speak. "Rayan, I didn't mean for it to happen." "Didn't mean for it to happen." Rayan's voice cracked into fury. "You betrayed 2 families in one night," Sarah sobbed uncontrollably. Zayn stood frozen, guilt written across his face. And me? I stood in the corner, my heart pounding, watching the 2 people I loved most destroy each other. Rayan took a deep breath and said quietly, "Everyone, please leave." One by one, the guests walked out, too stunned to speak. When the last person left, Rayan looked at me. "Take Mom home," he said. "This isn't over yet." I obeyed. But something in his tone terrified me. He wasn't shouting, he wasn't crying. He was too calm, and that calm was dangerous. The next morning, I went back to check on him. Sarah's things were gone. Zayn hadn't come home. Rayan sat in his study, staring out the window. On the table was a divorce file, unsigned. "What will you do now?" I asked softly. He turned to me slowly. "I won't destroy them with violence," he said. "They already destroyed themselves. I'll destroy their peace." I frowned. "What do you mean?" He smiled faintly. "Sarah loved her image, her reputation. Zayn loved money. Let's see how long they survive without both." Over the next few weeks, Rayan began his quiet revenge. He cut Zayn off from every business contact he had. He made sure Sarah's secrets reached the right ears, not publicly, but quietly. Sarah's family disowned her. Zayn lost his job after a scandal mysteriously leaked to his boss. Their world collapsed, slowly, silently, painfully. And every night, Rayan sat on his balcony, sipping tea, staring into the distance. "Justice doesn't always need fire," he once told me. "Sometimes ice does the job better." Weeks later, Zayn came to my house. His eyes were sunken, his voice weak. "Alina, I'm sorry," he said. "Sorry doesn't erase betrayal," I replied quietly. He nodded, tears in his eyes. "I lost everything." "No," I said. "You threw everything away." And with that, I closed the door. For the first time in years, I felt free. Rayan eventually moved abroad. He rebuilt his life from the ashes of betrayal. Sarah disappeared from everyone's sight. And me, I learned something powerful. Sometimes the people who hurt us teach us strength, and the ones who betray us teach us peace. 2 months passed. 2 months since the wedding that tore my world apart. 2 months since my brother Rayan destroyed everything that had been built on lies. The city had gone quiet for us. Whispers of betrayal spread through families, through circles, through friends who once smiled at us at dinner tables. Zayn and Sarah had vanished from sight. No one knew where they'd gone. But I knew Rayan wasn't done. Not yet. I often sat with him on his balcony, under the night sky. He barely spoke anymore, just stared at the stars, lost in thought. One night I asked him quietly, "You've already taken everything from them. Isn't that enough?" He turned his head slowly, his face half lit by moonlight. "Enough," he whispered. "They ruined our family's name. My marriage, your trust, Mom's health, nothing will ever be enough." There was a darkness in his eyes, not anger, but pain that had nowhere left to go. Then, one evening, a message arrived. It was from an unknown number. But when I opened it, my heart stopped. It was Sarah. A photo of her, sitting on a hospital bed, pale and weak. The message read, "Please, I need to talk to Rayan, before it's too late." I hesitated. Rayan was in the other room. I showed him the message. He stared at it for a long time, silent. Then finally he said, "Well, let's go." We reached the hospital late at night. The air smelled of antiseptic and sorrow. Sarah lay there, fragile, her eyes swollen from tears. She looked nothing like the woman from those glamorous photos, just broken, empty, lost. When Rayan walked in, she gasped softly, "You came." He didn't reply. He just stood there, arms crossed. "Rayan," she whispered, voice trembling. "I made a terrible mistake." I know there's no forgiveness left, but please, hear me once. Rayan's jaw tightened. You had your chance to speak when you betrayed me. Tears streamed down her face. I was scared. I thought you didn't love me. I was stupid. Zayn made me feel wanted. Rayan's voice turned icy. So you destroyed 2 families to feel wanted? Sarah shook her head weakly. I'm dying, Rayan. The room went silent. Even the beeping monitor seemed to fade into the distance. What? I whispered. Cancer, she said softly. It's spreading fast. I didn't want to leave this world without saying sorry. Rayan's expression didn't change, but I could see his fingers trembling. She reached out a weak hand toward him. Please, I just wanted to see you once. I know you'll never forgive me, but I want you to know I regret everything. Rayan looked down at her. For the first time, I saw a tear fall down his cheek. He took a deep breath. Sarah, he said quietly, forgiveness doesn't erase pain, but maybe it can stop it from spreading. She smiled faintly. That's all I needed to hear. Sarah passed away 3 days later, and with her, the last piece of that terrible chapter was gone. But fate wasn't done yet. A week later, Zayn returned, broken, hollow. His company gone, his name destroyed, his lover dead. He came to Rayan's office unannounced. The guards tried to stop him, but Rayan let him in. What do you want? Rayan asked coldly. Zayn dropped to his knees. I've lost everything, Rayan, please. I deserve punishment, but not this kind of living hell. Rayan stared at him, silent for a long time. Then he spoke quietly. You wanted what was never yours. And now you know what it feels like to lose what you can't replace. Zayn sobbed. Please just tell me how to make it right. Rayan stood up, his voice sharp as glass. You can't, but you can live with what you've done. That's the real punishment. Zayn walked out that day and never came back. No one saw him again. Some said he left the country. Some said he didn't survive the guilt. No one knows for sure. And Rayan, he finally signed the divorce papers, burned them, and watched the ashes scatter into the wind. Sometimes, he said softly, you don't get justice from revenge. You get it from letting go. That night, he packed his bags. He told me he was leaving for good, to start fresh, somewhere no one knew his name or his pain. Where will you go? I asked. Somewhere I can breathe again, he said with a faint smile. And then he was gone. It's been 2 years since that night. Sometimes when I sit alone, I still hear his voice. Not angry, not broken, just calm. Pain teaches betrayal shapes, but forgiveness heals. I finally understood what he meant. He didn't forgive them for their sake. He forgave them so he could live again. 3 years passed. 3 long years since that wedding turned our lives upside down. Everything had changed. The city, the people, even me. But there was one thing I couldn't forget. The look on my brother Rayan's face the last time I saw him. A strange peace, mixed with sadness, like a man who had finally laid down his sword after a long war. After he left, I tried to rebuild what was left of our family. Mom never really recovered from the heartbreak. She aged overnight. Her hair turned gray, her eyes hollow. Every time she saw my wedding photo with Zayn, she would quietly turn the frame face down. Zayn had disappeared completely. Rumors said he moved abroad. Some said he was in rehab. But to me, he was dead the moment he betrayed me. Still, a part of me wanted to know if he was alive. Not because I missed him, but because I wanted to understand why. Why do people destroy the ones who love them the most? One afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. A tired voice on the other end said, Alina, it's Zayn. For a second, my heart froze. It had been 3 years since I'd heard that voice. What do you want? I asked coldly. He sighed. I'm dying. Silence. I don't expect forgiveness, he continued, but I need to tell you something before I go. About Rayan, my stomach tightened. What about him? He saved me. I didn't understand. Zayn explained that after Sarah's death, he had fallen into a spiral, drinking, gambling, losing everything. One night he got into a fight at a bar and almost died. When he woke up in the hospital, Rayan was there. Yes, Rayan, the man he betrayed, the man whose life he destroyed. Rayan had paid his medical bills. He'd left quietly before Zayn woke up, but the nurse told him who had signed the documents. He didn't do it for me, Zayn said weakly. He did it because he didn't want to become what we turned him into. Tears rolled down my face as he whispered, Tell him, thank you, if you ever see him again. And then the line went dead. For weeks, I tried to find Rayan. No one had heard from him. No one knew where he went. Until one day I received a letter. No address, no name. Just my name on the envelope, written in familiar handwriting. Inside, there was a single page. It read, "Dear Alina, I found peace. Not in revenge, but in distance. I built a small school in a village far from the city. I teach children, kids who still believe in kindness. Every time I see them smile, I remember what love once felt like. Don't let pain turn you into someone you're not, because when you choose peace over anger, you win twice." Rayan. I sat there for a long time, holding that letter against my chest. Tears blurred the ink, but for the first time in years, I smiled. My brother, the man who lost everything, had found a way to live again. Not through hate, not through revenge, but through purpose. That day, I decided to follow his path. I sold the house that held too many memories and opened a small counseling center for women, for those who had been through what I had. I named it the Second Sunrise. Sometimes I look back and wonder, what if none of this had happened? Maybe we'd all still be pretending, smiling through lies, living shallow lives built on empty promises. But the truth is, pain has a strange way of cleansing the soul. It burns its scars, but it also reveals. It showed me who I was. It showed Rayan what forgiveness really means. And it showed Zayn that guilt doesn't free you. Redemption does. Now, whenever I see a wedding, I whisper a silent prayer. May their love be honest. May their hearts stay loyal. May they never learn the lessons we had to learn the hard way. Because love built on lies always collapses, but love built on truth endures forever. Soft, orchestral rise, piano, strings, fading heartbeat sound. Final line, softly, emotional. Sometimes, the greatest victory is walking away with your soul still pure.